Agree something must be done, but we cannot lose the Inquisition now. We stand on the brink of war with the Canary.
Yes, because this Solas provoked them in the first place.
The Inquisition did not cause this threat. We informed the Summit of the danger.
The danger posed by Canary spies inside your organization.
Without our organization, you would not be alive to complain.
No one has forgotten what you have done. But Corypheus is 2 years dead.
If the Inquisition is to continue, it must do so as a legitimate organization, not a glorified mercenary band.
Inquisitor.
You all know what this is. A writ from Divine Justinia authorizing the formation of the Inquisition. We pledge to close the breach, find those responsible, and restore order, with or without anyone's approval. I'm proud to say we accomplished that goal. We will honor the sacrifices of those who gave their lives in defense of what we stood for, and still stand for. Because our work is not done. Where we led in war, we will now serve in peace. The Inquisition will act as Divine Victoria's personal honor guard. Answering directly to her, we will transition from a military force into a peacekeeping organization. My own adventuring days may be done, but the Inquisition and its mission will continue.
Maker.
Over the next several months, the Inquisition carefully gave over many of the duties it had held. As a Divine's personal guard and peacekeeping force, the Inquisition shrank to a more manageable size. Many who have served went home, though the remaining force was still enough to give pause to any who might threaten the Divine's plans. Those who served the new Inquisition were tested and checked thoroughly in the hopes of ferreting out any more spies within its ranks. With the dragon's breath disrupted and any hope of a swift victory dashed, the Qunari retreated back to the north. Few knew the debates were waged in Parvalen, but not long after the Exalted Council, the Qunari launched a new attack against Tevinter. Their aggression caught the already unstable Imperium off guard. Tevinter was soon mired in a war many feared could spread across Thedas. The Exalted Council remained intact, advising Divine Victoria on important matters Cassandra served for several years. While she often disagreed with Liliana's policies, the former right and left hands of the Divine shared a mutual respect and worked well together. Cassandra also spent time in the Hunterhorn Mountains north of Orlais, where she worked to rebuild the Seekers. For a time, the new Seekers remained reclusive, showing no interest in the worldly affairs and working to propose few outside of their order could guess. While Cassandra and the Inquisitor were often separated by duty, they still found time to be together. It was not unusual to see the Inquisitor appear unexpectedly at Cassandra's side, or her at his, as they worked to restore order. Those who knew her from earlier days said that while she was away, true to her calling, they'd never seen her smile so often. The end of the Inquisition, as it has been, sent shockwaves through the College of Enchanters. Madame de Ferrabli played on the mages' fear. Her followers united to build a new circle, with Vivian as the Grand Enchanter, in direct competition with the College. Her followers were united. What the Circle lacked in numbers, they made up with political connections. Soon they were a force to be reckoned with. The two institutions settled into an uneasy coexistence across the South, vying for power. After the Exalted Council, Liliana devoted herself to the sunburst throne and her dreams of reshaping the Chantry. Within a year, she removed restrictions surrounding Chantry priesthood, allowing men and women of all races to be initiated and ordained. The decree followed swiftly with her decision to return the Canticle of Shartan to the canonical chant, a move that defied the rebellion to renounce her. The return of the Chantry to its former state arose, beginning with the first in Orlais, then spreading to other parts of Thedas. As quickly as it begins, the rebellion faltered. While most agreed that the rebellion collapsed due to infighting, some whispered that the Divine herself engineered its failure. The rebellion fractured into a number of separate cells, some of which limped on for several months before disappearing into obscurity. Sarah left the Inquisition with scarcely more than what she began with, disappearing back into her confusing weave of favors and friends. After seeing the world brought to the brink of arrogance and pride, it was a blessing to return to normal. However strange normal it might be. With frequent visits to her Whittle, of course. Whittle? Who the heck was Whittle? Perhaps unnerving was Sarah's standing offer to the divine. Okay, and that was when the knobs piss about with your left hand and right, call on the red jennies to give them 2 fingers. Varric took the role of Viscount and helped with a friend Hawk rebuilt Kirkwall's damaged infrastructure. Under his rule, the city-state finally resumed its place in the major trade hub of the Free Marches. He continued to ignore all mail from both the Merchants Guild and the Prince of Starkhaven. With the Inquisition in its new role, the Bull's Chargers returned to taking jobs throughout Orlais and Ferelden. Fighting demons and clearing out the remains of Venatori forces, the Iron Bull did his part to restore order to Thedas. After the Inquisition transitioned to a peacekeeping role, Cullen continued to serve as commander of its forces. Under his leadership, the Inquisition protected the Divine's interests while enforcing new standards of security. Cullen also explained the Chantry's treatment for Templars whose minds were taken by lyrium, as well as those who wished to cease lyrium usage. And as the chaos reigned in the north and threats to the Divine lurked in every shadow, Cullen remained ready to serve. Dorian returned to Deventer to take his father's place in the Magisterium. As rumors flew about the Empyreans infighting, Dorian was spoken of often as a voice of resistance against corruption. Along with the Magisters Maverus Tilani, he formed a group called the Lucerian to restore and redeem Deventer, a fight many thought hopeless. Those fighting by Magisters Pavo's side noted that he kept in constant communication with the Inquisitor via message crystals. Whether the vital information or moral support, these talks seemed to give Dorian the strength to continue his fight. After the Exalted Council, Thom Rainer bid farewell to his friends and went to Weishaupt Fortress to pledge himself to the Grey Wardens for good. While he was rarely seen in the years followed, some say they encountered Rainer in a far-flung lands, their accounts always similar. Rainer carried out the duties of the Warden, but always found time to help others along the way. Sometimes he served as a shield for the defenseless. Other times, he spread simpler cheer among children with gifts of small carved toys. After easing the Inquisition's transition into the Chantry, Josephine returned to Antiva and her family. She was soon approached by an agent from the House of Repose, whose assassins had been killed by Inquisition agents on Josephine's behalf. Far from being offended, the House of Repose was inquiring as to whether Josephine might have need of their services. She quickly persuaded them she had no need for assassins, but instead hired them as guards for the Monteliot's new trading vessels. Rivani pirates, looking to rekindle the ancient feud, soon learned that Monteliot's ship was not lightly boarded, and her house prospered greatly. Cole took to the road of Meriden to find a new life and a new way to be human. So we met her briefly. Wherever Meriden went to sing, people found old pains eased and the hearts made happier, even if they didn't understand why. After the events of the Winter Palace, elves left the Inquisition under mysterious circumstances, as did elven servants across Thedas. None could say where they went, but those that believed the Inquisitor's story about Fenrir's wondered just how large the Dread Wolf forces were, and what the ancient elven rebel had planned. That's it? I feel like we're missing some people.
My agents have found nothing. With the Illuvians, he could be anywhere.
Maintaining the Inquisition, even as a peacekeeping force, leaves us vulnerable to agents of the Dread Wolf.
But also gives us the strength to respond.
We will need to be careful.
Solus knows everything about us. Who we are, how we work, our strengths and weaknesses.
Then we find people he doesn't know. We will save our friend from himself. If we can.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the end of Dragon Age Inquisition. Oh my god.
What is this? A new book? All this shit is weird.
Oh, Varric, that is a terrible title. What are you even thinking?
The sky churned like a rolling sea on a dark and stormy night, centered on a gaping hole that led to the arse end of nowhere. A hole that spit up many things that day, comets, demons, and a whole lot of trouble. It's about the Inquisition. The din of the tavern cut the silence like it owed the carter money. In the middle, in her element, Red Jenny. She looked me up and down, mostly down. "Not playing, weirdy," she said, gesturing with and dismissively eating a sandwich. "Don't write that. Seriously, piss up a row." Sarah made the subtext text, which suited me fine. The court enchanter swirled into the room like a drop of beautiful poison spreading in a wineglass. She sized me up with a glance. "I'm so glad you made it, my dear," she said. "I am Madame de Fair, the most terrifying person you shall ever meet." Liliane enfolded Alphonse in an embrace as warm as a serpent's kiss. "I always knew I could count on your support." The Count did not feel the bite of her poisoned dart until it was too late. "Even if it requires your death." Drops of rain glistened on the griffin medallion grasped tightly in Blackwall's hand. "The silverite wings of valor, they mean nothing." He flung the medal to the cold and uncaring ground. "You don't know what I've done. You don't know me." So romantic. Cole moved like a shadow that also moved like a knife. A shadow wearing a hat where dreams came to die. "It's a riddle," he whispered. "A cold riddle that gnaws at your mind, but you'll feel better when it's gone." That makes as much sense as anything Cole says. "Do you place your herald above the law, ambassador?" "Whose law, my lady?" Josephine's eyes glittered like angry opals. "The law destroyed by rebellion, by civil war, by poor fiscal management. We are the law." We left our mark on adamant, but the dust hadn't settled, and neither had Harding. "I can offer you a drink, if I catch your meaning." If you'd caught my meaning, you'd have offered a double. What is even happening here? The Iron Bull was a great slab of muscle with horns that could hang a tapestry. One eye scanned for threats, while the other hid behind an eye patch like a chantry sister's old sins. "Come on," he barked, not looking back as he entered. "The dancer with the great rack comes on in 5. That is spot on, actually. The commander had the look of a Templar who had seen the worst of humanity, yet still had the time to style his hair. "This isn't just a war," he said, his gaze steely like a dull blade. "It's the only war." "Cullen! That's Cullen!" The mage wore a class of handsome sneer cultivated by 1,000 years of Tevinter elitism. "The name's Dorian," he glared. "Dorian. Spell it right, you marble-headed lump, or it's toad time." A toad? That's hardly credible. The bold elf spun, mage staff crackling like the city after a good man's murder. "You're crazy," the Red Templar cried in terror. Moonlight glinted off ears like the knives you never see coming. Better to fade out than burn away. Ugh, Varric. Wait, where am I? I don't... Oh, here it is. The Seeker clutched at my vest, her tears as desperate as they were pitiful. "Varric, I was wrong about everything," she sobbed. "Could you find it in your noble heart to forgive me?" "That dwarf, he put me in the book! I'm in the book! I am reading the shit out of this!"
Holy shit. What a long game that was. Is there more? What you got for me, game? What are you doing? Okay. So it took me close to 92 hours to complete this game, which is less than half the time Google claimed it was. It might have been longer if I had it on a higher difficulty, but let me go ahead and try to get my initial thoughts out of the way. It's good. I think this game would have been much shorter were it not for all the little collectibles that you had to get through, or that you could have possibly gotten. If I ignored that, I probably would have been around maybe 60 to 70 hours if I ignored all the little side collectibles there and here and wherever. game had a lot of great moments, such as the part where he transitioned from Haven to Skyhold. That was done very well, and I think a lot of people have. And there is some replayability, but I think it's going to be a while before I decide to replay through this game, because this is long, exhausting, very time-consuming to do. Because I know you can side with the mages, you can side with the Templars, and things would be different. You have different romances throughout it all. Cassandra's is probably the most fulfilling. Some of the others are funny, and I think hers was the best. And I thought there was a marriage scene between the Inquisitor and Cassandra, but maybe I was wrong, or I just screwed something up along the way. I'm not exactly sure. And as far as my choices from the past, there were a few in there, but I feel like it was far less than what there should have been. The choices that I am aware of is King Alistair and Honora marrying, Logain. Didn't really have too much with the dwarves, the elves, or the... It's coming to me. Mages. Well, the mage thing is the whole theme from Dragon Age 2 to now. And I thought that was done well. DLCs. Jaws of Hacken was a good little side area that didn't really have an overall effect of the main story. The Deep Roads DLC left me with far more questions than anything else, which I hope we get some answers to, but seeing as so how they treat most DLCs in the series, I don't think we're ever going to get any questions or further answers for the Deep Roads DLC in this game, because in the first game you had like Liliana's song, yeah, okay, that's a prequel, fine, whatever, and then you had Awakening, which probably had more of effect in Dragon Age 2. There's no talking Darkspawn other than Corypheus. Like, that never even comes up. None of that stuff even comes up. And then they've already disowned Golems of Amgarok at this point, because it's not even mentioned in the Tapestry. And then the Eluvian, which is a more prevalent thing in this. And then, like, from Dragon Age 2, you had Hawk, Varric, Cassandra, in a way, Liliana, like some characters that show up, but like none of the others are even mentioned. Anders blowing himself up and then dying isn't really mentioned. The Prince of Starkhaven is like mentioned in like idle conversation. Same with the other companions. Really don't have anything to bring to that. And then I feel like the Legacy DLC of Dragon Age 2 brought more to the table from Dragon Age 2 than most other things, other than the obvious Templars versus Mages conflict. Like, it was like that. Like, I can't think of any of the smaller things other than that major like front thing that like really had any effect in Inquisition. And then the other DLC, which I think like BioWare wants to forget about Talus and all that. But overall, if I had to rate this game 1 to 10, I'd probably give it a random 7. Mainly because it does have its good points, it has a good story, but there is just a lot of filler. Again, like, I think you can easily take at least 20 to 30 hours out if you like cut the filler stuff. So I think that's where we're going to end things for today. And then hopefully you guys will join me for another stream. I do not know what I will stream next after this. But either way, I hope you guys will join me for it. And until then, stay safe. And have a good night.